Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to the mat. So today we're doing some yoga for back stretching and spinal health, which is a request that I received. So real quick before we begin, I just want to remind you that you are always prepared for yoga if you have the following. First, a yoga strap. That's mine. You can use a tie, a towel, blanket, hoodie, t-shirt, whatever. Next, we have 2 yoga blocks. You can use books or tin cans, whatever it is. And today I also have a extremely flat soccer ball. Okay, super flat. You can see I'm able to push. So we're going to use that for some back stretching. You can use a basketball or a football, but please take air out of it. I also have a big throw blanket over here that's folded up. And of course, I'm practicing today on a mat. And if you have a cat or a dog nearby, just give them some pets, unless they're being bad. They're swatting at you. All right. So whenever you practice, always practice barefoot. So I'm going to go ahead and take off my slippers, and we're going to go ahead and sit cross-legged at the center of our mat with our hands in a prayer position. And we're going to go ahead and state our affirmation. It's good to state an affirmation before you begin practicing, just so you can maintain a focus on what you want to get out of your practice. Today, your affirmation can simply be, I want to focus on strengthening my spine and back while also relieving any pressure or stress on that part of my body. So we're going to go ahead and begin lying down with our knees pointed up in a 90-degree angle towards the ceiling, our hips and our heels in line. And this position is excellent for anybody who sits all day, maybe taking classes, sits at work, sits driving your car, sits on the couch, whatever it is, because it really, really tightens your hamstrings when you sit like that. So this is actually relaxing a muscle called the psoas muscles, and they're attached to your hips there, and when you sit like this, it really relaxes those muscles. So it's good. It's a good counter pose for sitting all day. All right, moving on. I just grabbed my soccer ball, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to stretch my thoracic spine. So I placed it right below the part of my shoulder blades. If you're a lady, this is where your bra strap goes across your back. If you're a gentleman, it is where the lady's bra strap goes across her back. So that is where the soccer ball is placed. If this is too intense, come out of it and replace this ball with a pillow. But I still want you guys to be able to experience stretching the thoracic spine, because usually this part of your spine doesn't go this direction. So if you want to stretch your back, this is a good way to start doing that and to just kind of stretch it in the direction it's not used to going in. It's not necessarily bad to stretch it in the opposite direction, but it's good to do sometimes if you're feeling or experiencing any stiffness. All right, you can go ahead and come out of that stretch. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and sit cross-legged. And we're just going to do a little bit of spine warming up. So go ahead and make sure that your shoulder blades are down and you're not holding any tension there. And make sure that your back is straight. You're not rounding your lower back. So make sure you're sitting right up on your sitting bones. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place our hands on our knees. And we're going to round our back while we exhale. And while we inhale, we're going to go ahead and bring our chest forward through the gates of our arms. Go ahead and exhale, roll your back. And then inhale, open your chest, exhale, go ahead and round your back, inhale, open your chest. We're going to go ahead and switch the cross of our legs, and we're going to do this 4 more rounds of the stretch. So we're going to go ahead and first exhale and round our back. We're going to go ahead and inhale, open our chest, exhale, round our back, inhale, open our chest, exhale, round our back, inhale, and open our chest, exhale, round our back, inhale, open our chest. Okay, we're done. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and roll forward on our hands and knees. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and bring our right foot forward towards our right hand, and we're gonna go ahead and drop into what's called a runner's lunge, okay? So as you're in this runner's lunge, make sure that your knee and your ankle are in line, and make sure that your lower back is kind of pushed forward so you're not arching your lower back too much. Whenever I'm in a runner's lunge, I like to add blocks so I can get a little bit of extra length, and getting that extra length allows me to kind of get deeper into my stretch. Go ahead and switch your legs and step your left leg forward into your lunge. And once again, make sure that your knee is right above your ankle. Make sure that your hips are kind of tilted forward. You don't want to have too much of an arch in that lower back because it can be dangerous for your lower back. So keep that back safe. Make sure you're breathing here into that stretch. If you have blocks, you can go a little bit higher to get a little bit more of a stretch there, a little bit more length. Because if you don't have any blocks, you're just kind of hunched down trying to reach the floor. So this kind of gives you a little bit of extra length to get a better stretch. Okay, go ahead and place the blocks away, and we're going to go ahead and switch our legs and put our right foot back in the front, get back into that runner's lunge. And you can go ahead and place your arms up, and they should be arrow straight arms reaching towards the ceiling, and your arms should be right next to your ears. Again, make sure your knee is right above your ankle. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our left hand and grab our left foot back there, and then go ahead and place our right forearm on our right thigh, and make sure that you're closing your circle so your thumb and your middle finger are touching. And then whenever you're in this stretch, it's pretty intense, but if you have the flexibility, make sure that your hips and your shoulders are squared to the front. All right, come out of it and go ahead and switch. So your left leg is now in front in a lunge. All right, so go ahead and lift your arms straight up towards the ceiling. Make sure your shoulders are down though. Don't let them creep up to your ears. Make sure that your hips are kind of pushed a bit forward so you're making sure that you're being safe with your lower back. Make sure your arrow straight arms, very, very straight right next to your ears. We're gonna go ahead and in a minute here, place our left arm on our left thigh. Go ahead and grab our right foot with our right hand. Okay, and once again, make sure that your hips and your shoulders are squared to the front when you're doing this. Don't open up to the side. You're gonna want to, but to get that stretch, go ahead and square to the front there. Make sure that on your left hand, your middle finger and your thumb were touching. Okay, go ahead and come out of it. All right, so right now we're gonna go ahead and get into the first downward dog of the day. All right, so this is a very gentle downward dog. Please use this pose now to go ahead and stretch out whatever is feeling tight, okay? So my back could be a little straighter, but right now I'm focusing on stretching out my calves because they get extremely tight for some reason. So I really love to use down dog to stretch out those calf muscles. All right, make sure that you're really sticking your butt straight up, and as long as your back is straight, your knees don't have to be and your heels don't have to touch the ground. Just make sure we have some good form here. Now go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and exhale into a plank position and go ahead and lower slowly all the way to the ground, everything on the ground. Go ahead and place your arms right next to your lower rib cage. Inhale into a very low cobra. And then wherever you're at, take your hands off the ground and see if you can stay exactly where you're at. All right, go ahead and place your hands back on the ground. So your forearms and your wrists are in line and your shoulders are right above your elbows in what's called Sphinx Pose. So make sure that when you're doing this, it's a chest opener. So make sure your chest is kind of coming through the gates of your shoulders and arms here. And if you want a deeper stretch, just straighten your arms. Keep your palms where they're at and go ahead and straighten. If this is too intense on your low back, move back down into regular Sphinx Pose. All right. So now I just kind of came up into up facing dog with an inhale, and then I exhaled into down dog. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and like walk our feet up to our hands, or you can walk your hands back down to your feet, whatever you want. And we're gonna go ahead and come into a squat. So I know I didn't do it yet, but I'm going to do a squat, I swear. It's coming. Stretching out a little bit more. Okay, so I stepped my feet towards my hands, and I'm coming into Halasana, which is called a squat pose here. So when you're in a squat, make sure that your knees are tracking right over your big toes. Make sure that they're not like kind of wavering inward or outward. Make sure that you're keeping your knees safe by keeping them tracked over your big toe. And make sure you're using your like upper arms and elbows to kind of push your knees apart to get that stretch. This is excellent for your lower back to kind of release it. Okay, go ahead and come out of that squat, and we're back with our legs crossed. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our knees bent. So we have our right knee bent directly over our left knee, which is bent too. All right, so as we're sitting here, this is a really big hip stretch as it is, but if you have the flexibility and you want a bigger stretch, go ahead and make sure your back is straight, but go ahead and lean forward a little bit, and that's a really, really big hip stretch. This is my right leg on top of my left leg, and both of my knees, as you can see, are stacked on top of each other. Okay, and they're pointed directly forward. Make sure you breathe there. Go ahead and come out of it, and you can go ahead and switch legs, or you can do the fun spin where you just like keep your feet planted on the ground and spin your body around, and then before you know it, your left knee should be on top of your right knee. So make sure you adjust yourself accordingly. Make sure that those knees are right stacked on top of each other. And like I said, this is a pretty intense hip opener, but it's really helpful to open those hips and your lower back. If you have the flexibility, go ahead and give yourself a forward fold, but make sure that your back is straight. You're not hunching your lower back to try to get there. Okay. Thinking belly to thigh, not nose to knee. Don't forget to breathe, and make sure that your shoulders aren't creeping up towards your ears. All right, come out of it. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move to a pose called Hero Pose. So right now I have a block handy. If you have a block handy, that's awesome. You can go ahead and slip it between your knees and just sit back on it. So as you can see, my knees are apart and I'm just sitting on the block. If you don't have a block and you're able to kind of sit between your feet on the floor, go for it. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Right now I'm gonna start sitting here on the block. And this is an excellent pose to sit with really good form with your lower back, like, you know, naturally arched back. So to get a little bit of a back stretch, I went ahead and leaned back and placed my palms right lined up with my feet, and then I went ahead and pushed off of that block. Okay, so go ahead and let your head hang back, get that stretch there. Okay, you can come out of it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and remove the block, and I'm gonna show you different levels of how to do this back stretch. So if you have the flexibility, follow along with me, but if that was intense, stay with that stretch. But if you're ready to go forward and get into it a little bit deeper, go ahead and simply place your palms behind your feet and then lift off of your heels instead of lifting off of a block. All right, come out of it, and now you can see that I'm sitting directly between my feet. Whenever you do this, make sure your hips are lined up with your knees though. Don't let them splay out. Keep those knees really, really safe. So to get into it deeper, I'm laying back on my forearms and I'm kind of bending back. But if you can get into it, this is the deepest level, so you can go ahead and simply lay down. Make sure that you're kind of tilting your lower ribs and your pelvis together so you're not overarching that lower back. And when you get into this pose, you'll see what I mean by that. And then once you have done that, you can go ahead and lift your arms over your head, and now you're kind of in a very full stretch. It's really intense, but it's an excellent stretch. and at times it can be an acquired taste. If at any point any of these poses hurt your knee or you feel a knee stretch, come out of it. Don't ever stretch the knee. Absolutely not. All right, go ahead and come out of it. And now we're going to go ahead and lay on our backs. I just pulled my knees in to give them a little hug. And now we're going to move into a supine stretch. So I moved my hips to the right and tilted my legs to the left. So now my spine is kind of all twisted, and then my knees are on the left. My shoulders are kind of both touching the floor. My arms are to a T, and I'm looking at my right hand. All right, go ahead and come out of that. Now go ahead and shift your hips to the left, roll your knees to the right, open your arms to a T, and look at your left arm. This is a pretty good stretch. If you want it to be a little deeper for your hips, you can go ahead and cross your legs. So like cross your left leg over your right leg, and that'll give you a little bit of a deeper hip stretch if that's what you like. But I'm just trying to keep it very, very chill for you guys. Just a very relaxing back stretchy day. All right, come out of it and go ahead and hug your knees into your chest. All right, so I went ahead and sat up, and I'm going to show you one last back stretch here. So I'm going to grab like my super puffy quilted blanket here, and I have it folded as thick as I can get it. So remember where we put the soccer ball when we started, right at like right below your shoulder blades, or if you're a lady, right where your bra strap bottom is. Go ahead and lay across this blanket right at that spot. Okay, so this is a good like final thoracic spine stretch before we get into our final resting pose. So as you can see, I have my the soles of my feet together and my knees apart and my arms right above my head. And this is a comfortable spot for me. But if you want to keep your knees bent, let your legs go out straight, whatever it is, make sure that you're in a comfortable position. So you shouldn't feel any discomfort or pain. We should simply feel comfortable and kind of like open in this position. Don't forget to breathe here and make sure your shoulders don't creep up at all towards your ears. Also, make sure you're letting go of any tension you might hold in your jaw. That can happen a lot when you practice. All right, come on out of that. And we're gonna go ahead and hug our knees to our chest one last time, big hug. And then we're gonna go ahead and release those knees. And we're gonna come into our final resting pose, corpse pose, also known as Shavasana. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself and allow you guys to completely relax within this pose. Whenever your body gets into the Shavasana pose, make sure that your feet are about a foot apart, your arms are about 5 inches away from your hips, your shoulder blades are tucked back and down, and your head is resting comfortably back. Whenever your body comes into this pose, it should automatically understand that it's time to relax. So try to train your body and your mind to know that Shavasana is a resting pose. So go ahead and rest, and I'll be right back. So go ahead and start to breathe a little deeper. Go ahead and make some movements in your fingers and toes and start to reawaken your body. Now go ahead and stretch your arms over your head and do a huge, huge, huge stretch. It's getting your body as long as possible. Go ahead and roll to your right hand side. Go ahead and like curl up a little bit as if you are laying in bed and don't want to get out of bed just yet. Go ahead and place left hand on the ground and push yourself up very gently, and go ahead and join me in a cross-legged pose on your mat. Thank you guys so much for practicing with me. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying these videos, and I hope that you really are getting some benefits or seeing some relief from any tension you may have in your muscles. Please let me know what other videos I can do for you. So just let anybody know, and I would be happy to accommodate you. Okay, I will see you guys next time. So and there's Shadow. He was being a good boy today. All right guys, I'll see you next time on the mat. Namaste.